Okay, welcome back to the United Pubcast, the podcast of the official Man United Supporters Club here in Sydney. Apologies for the few minutes delay. Everyone in the live chat I can see is blaming Larry, but I will hold my hands up for the first time. It is me that's been late. I've just saw a replay of the Burnley goal and Harry Maguire's defending, and I just threw my water on the screen. So a little bit of dry edge needed. So, my apologies for being late, but I do appreciate everyone in the live chat. But, don't blame me. You can blame Harry Maguire, which I'm sure we'll all be sort of blaming in 2 or 3 minutes' time when we get into sort of the match review of the loss against Burnley. So, Larry, how are we?
Draw
day
against Burnley.
The draw against Burnley. Sorry, obviously, yes, does feel like a loss. But how was your day? Because you start at 7 a.m. game on a Wednesday morning here in Sydney. You think that's a good sort of start to the day. You can watch United win. You can get on with your day. United always have different plans for us, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They do. Look, the good thing that I will take out of the most recent results, and I know, what are you talking about, Larry? The good thing? But here it is, Tom. United are actually playing good football. If you actually compare it to, say, under Solskjaer, and this is what's keeping me semi-optimistic, the level of performance we are seeing at the moment gives me confidence that United will absolutely go on a run of positive results. The problem is that going to happen too late? But in saying that, I actually think the football is showing progress, but the second halves are absolutely killing United, and they need to start taking their opportunities better. Obviously, it doesn't mean much in the grand scheme of things. It's a draw against 20th placed Burnley. It's a poor result. No way to sugarcoat that, and it means that your day, unfortunately, is crap.
Do we ever beat the team that's coming last? I made the point in the last podcast. It seems whoever we play, whenever we play the team in 20th position, nailed on loss or a draw in this case. It's a very rare occasion I remember that we actually ever beat the team coming last. Just one of those things. But I will sort of say good day to a lot of guys in the live chat, so I appreciate all the interaction. Josh here, evening fellas. Feel like we're on a repeat of the Villa game. They all mix up. West Ham, Wolves, whoever the games are, it always does seem the same, unfortunately. Good evening to Vin, finally joining us for a live pod. Good to see you, mate, as always. George, our last 3 games against bottom of the table, 2-1 loss, 1-0 win, and a 1-1 draw today. That's what I feel. It's one of those things, and I'm sure all the big clubs have that, well, maybe not Manchester City, but I'm sure a lot of the clubs do have the same feeling that whenever you play a team at the bottom, it's sort of a weird result, but maybe that's just Man United fans. Dion, good to see you, mate. Mike, as always, and Ahmad, always good to see you. There are a few others in the chat, which I do appreciate, but we'll try and get sort of straight into it. So good day to everyone. Make sure you leave a like on the video to try and cheer us up. Larry, look, we're going to get in individual performances, Marcus Rashford, Harry Maguire, and we're going to sort of do our best for 3-2-1s. But before we get in that, there was a football game. And as you said, there was parts of the football game we actually played quite well. Now, obviously not good enough, and playing well means you have to put the ball in the goal. We didn't do that, or didn't do it. Well, technically we did. We can talk about the refereeing and if that had an impact on the game. But on the performance, especially that first 45 and then the difference in the second 45 on a team basis, forget the individuals, where do you want to start? Because like Middlesbrough, it was actually decent at times, I thought.
Well, let's focus on the positives because this is going to be depressing watching. Let's focus on the positives, Tom. The first half was awesome. Rafael Varane wrongly robbed of a goal, so we can absolutely get into that. But if I'm going to focus on the first half, I think the 4-3-3 is working. I think Jadon Sancho's performance was really positive, and I think that's his best performance in a United shirt. Now, outside of that, though, it gets a little bit hairy. But in saying that, you have to say we're keeping the ball well. We look attacking. We look threatening. Again, it's just the second half failures. I don't know what that is. Is it a fitness thing? Is it Ralph Rangnick's training? Is it with this high-intensity press that we don't even seem to be executing, I might add? Is that somehow causing the players to just be really fatigued in the second half? He went with basically the same side minus Ronaldo. You have to wonder if there's a fatigue factor there. I don't know. There's so many reasons why things could be going wrong. But in saying that, Tom, we're creating so many chances, which we weren't a month ago. And when you compare it to when Ralph Rangnick came in, and like we said for the Middlesbrough game, United should have been up 3-0 at half-time.
Is it one of the ones where we say whenever a team's in a bad patch of form, there's the 2 ways of looking at it, and the team that's not creating chances, where you go, okay, they've got a problem, okay, they're in bad form, but they're not creating chances. And the narrative around a team that is in a bad patch of form, but you think they're going to get back to a little bit of good form is, well, at least they're creating chances. It'll change one day, those chances will start to go in. Is that a part of it where, okay, we're in horrible form at the moment and it's just we are creating chances, so there is light at the end of the tunnel? Now, obviously, the long tunnel in terms of Manchester United's sort of prospects over the next 5 years, okay, that's nothing to sort of write home about and look too positively toward. But in this short term, are the signs there that eventually it's going to click? Not click to go on a run and win the Champions League or get into a title race type thing, but in terms of start scoring goals and getting a few more results.
I'm going to say we can go on a run and win the Champions League. You know what? As a football fan, look, call me deluded. I'm going to have a little bit of hope that we can do it. If we, in a cup, all you need is a little bit of luck, particularly over a two-leg tie. You can see us beating Atletico Madrid. I said this to you. I don't think I said it during the video, but I will say it here. United play to the level of the team they're versing. You're versing an awkward team like Burnley, United get awkward. You verse a team that likes to play football like an Arsenal, United like to play football too. It just simply comes down to, as messed up as it is, you know what I compare it to? When you hang out with people who are intelligent and have them hold themselves to a higher chord, you behave accordingly. When you're out in the playground with your mates, you're doing all sort of shithousery. That's exactly how Manchester United play, because we're a bunch of children who don't have the maturity to be professional footballers. You said it to me offline, and I think it's spot on. That second half just lacked professionalism. A realization that the game wasn't won. And then once you're behind, and you know this, it doesn't matter what level of football. Momentum's a funny thing. Once a side has momentum, it's very hard to switch that up, unless you have a Michael Carrick or Paul Scholes in midfield, which we obviously don't have.
There was a game a couple of years ago. We're away at Leicester. I forget which season it was. We were 2-1 up. I think we had a 2-2 draw away at Leicester City. I forget what season it was. Might have been a Jose Mourinho season. I think Harry Maguire actually scored for Leicester in the last minute. Someone in the comments might be able to correct me. But it was a case of, in the last 5 minutes of that game, we were 2-1 up, and we had counter-attack after counter-attack, and it was like the players were just saying, let's score like a Harlem Globetrotters type goal. It was just, they're mucking around, and sort of the chances that they'll sort of go on astray where a little bit of cutting edge and sort of focus would have killed the game 3-1. But ultimately, that last 5 minutes of mucking around and trying to score the perfect goal paid the price when Leicester scored a goal. And it just felt like that. We'll get into so many positions, and just, as I say, a lack of professionalism. And look, we're going to get into individual performances, and I'm sure that's going to sort of spark a heated debate for many reasons. But before we get into that, and we're definitely not saying this is the reason for the loss, reason for the draw, in regards to the disallowed goals. But I've seen a few comments in here when you were talking about the Varane goal. I've seen Vin and George talking of Varane sort of wasn't robbed of a goal, that he was rightly offside. We're going to discuss these offside goal or the disallowed goals now. And definitely we're not saying that the reason for the draw. However, they're interesting decisions for me because Maguire's obviously, we'll get into his performance, but he's been criticised for being lazy and standing offside. It's not a foul, and it wasn't blown for a foul. It was blown for offside, interfering with play. Jay Rodriguez going to get the ball. Is he going to sort of challenge Rafael Varane? No, probably not. So is he interfering with play? Look, in my opinion, no. Technically, if you want to get petty with the rule, yeah, okay, you can call him offside. If you're going to call him offside, though, you're going to have to call the guy for a double-handed push in the back to get him offside.
Exactly, and that's the reason I'm saying had a goal wrongly taken off him. Harry Maguire was offside, but you have to look at the full picture here. Harry Maguire's offside because he's got two hands in his back. Now, if that push doesn't happen, I dare say Harry Maguire stays onside and the same result eventuates. Look, there was no way Rafael Varane was not scoring that goal. So take that straight out of the context. And that's my issue with it. You're watching it live. You know, these are the things with football rules. Football rules are there to be interpreted as black and white, but sometimes it's not as simple as that. You know, sometimes when someone's offside, be like, that's a goal. That's what this felt like. You're watching it unfold.
The wrong people make the rules.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Players play. Players understand what a game feels like. You got people who have never kicked a football in their life making rules about football, and that's the issue.
The other one, probably the worst one, because there I can look at Maguire technically being offside. I can deal with it. Just frustrated after the draw. But the other one, who scored the other goal? It was an own goal,
Cavani?
Obviously. We thought Cavani scored. Was it Cavani or was it an own goal? I forget who it was. I think it came off one of the players. Anyway, it was disallowed for the poor Pogba foul. Look, it's not a foul in my opinion, but if you want to give that a foul, the issue I have that one is the referee, like the old offside or the current offside rule where they wait till the play finishes before they put the flag up. The linesman, who shouldn't be making that decision anyway, the referee should be making the decision on Paul Pogba, but waits for he sees the incident with Paul Pogba and waits for the goal, then puts his flag up. A foul is a foul. If he sees a foul, put your flag up when you see it. Don't wait for the play to when Paul Pogba was in an offside incident. If he saw a foul with Paul Pogba, put your flag up then. the only reason he put his flag up is because the ball went in the goal. He initially said, no, it's no foul, so he kept his flag down and played on. So, again, definitely not an excuse for the draw, but in my opinion, that Paul Pogba one was a shocker decision.
I thought the officiating over the 90 minutes was appalling. I can't count the amount of times Paul Pogba got fouled. There was I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but there was a lot of physicality in the game. Burnley were trying to put the United players off. Can I say, sorry, Tom, I missed one positive when I started. Diogo Dalot's foul throw was absolute gold. That was a foul throw if I've ever seen one. It was atrocious. I can't believe he threw that and they didn't blow it away and blow it back. It was insanity to me. Anyway.
Well, we'll get into, look, there are a few sort of comments. We want to sort of continue the sort of chat and keep it fun, but I do appreciate everyone in the live chat. Remember, if you could sort of cheer us up, if you could leave a like on the video, that would be great. We're going to get into sort of individual performances. And look, where do you want to start? I think the two names that have sort of dominate the discussion are Harry Maguire and Marcus Rashford, and there's sort of many talking points to do them. So I'll give you the floor on where you want to start.
Harry Maguire's most at fault, carries most of the stick for why Manchester United lost. He got turned by the defender. Like, that's the thing. That when you look at the way United have conceded goals so far this season, it seems to be a systemic issue. A lot of the time, Harry Maguire's had his fair share where he's at fault. The issue I have with Harry Maguire here, Tom, and this is why I'm going to try and be level-headed about this. He's at fault for the goal. It wasn't anyone else around him doing the wrong thing. He gets turned by Jay Rodriguez. He then lacks the pace to get back with Jay Rodriguez. He's then scared of committing a foul, so he does nothing and he scores. It was all Harry Maguire's fault. You can't be. He's too flat-footed. He lacks agility. He lacks pace. And then I know it's not like we've just said. It's maybe you can say there's an element of him, not necessarily his fault for the goal being offside, but unfortunately, perception is reality. Harry Maguire's involved in that. He's involved in the build-up to United not opening the scoring exchanges when we thought we would. And then come his idiotic comments post-match, where he's asked purely about himself, and then he said, I've missed the man, but that's not why we lost the game. We had our chances. I recall Ronaldo having 2 headers. This bloke deflects blame. He never takes accountability of himself. When he's asked about the performance, he always says we instead of I. I can't believe he's the captain. I can't believe he's the captain.
And this is not me. Right, this is not me defending him. I know you say I always defend him, and if I look at it and think, well, this season, who have I said? Answer these questions for me. Who have I said has been the worst player this season?
Harry Maguire.
Who have I said has been woeful this season?
Marcus Rashford.
And
Harry Maguire.
Who have I said, at an extreme length, who have I said should be stripped of the captaincy this season?
I haven't seen you say those words, mate.
Well, no, it's strict. I've said he shouldn't be the captain. I've said he shouldn't be the captain.
You'll say it's not his fault he's the captain. You'll say it's not his fault he's the captain.
Yeah, and I think that he should be sort of taken out of the limelight, and that captain's armband should have gone to a Ronaldo or a De Gea, etc.
I agree with you, but I also think he has a responsibility. Yeah. Sorry to cut you off. He has a responsibility to identify when he's not displaying leadership. Ralph Rangnick's a caretaker. I understand why he wouldn't want to take the armband because it doesn't make sense. If there's another manager to come in, it should be that man's call. Harry Maguire should be a man and go into Ralph Rangnick's office and say, look, mate, I don't feel like I'm handling it well. I need to focus on my football. I'm having a horrible patch of form. Give the armband to someone else. I'm just going to focus on getting my football right. That's what he should be doing.
Yeah, they're all valid points, but my defense of Harry Maguire has never been his performance. As I said, those 3 things, I said he's been our worst player this season. I think he's been woeful. And to the extreme, I think he needs to be taken, the armband needs to be taken off him for his own good and the club's own good. My defense of Harry Maguire has been in regards to the over-the-top of abuse, the abuse his brothers and sisters gets, the hypocrisy amongst our fan base in regards to the way we criticise him for certain things and not others. And the point you make there, which is this is the first time it's really come out in terms of black and white, I's and we's, which can suit this argument. So in this one, it's very hard to sort of say it off the back of this one where you do point out he doesn't blame, but he points out the mistakes further up the pitch. But let's say a case where whenever he says we look at, well, he should be taking responsibility. He should say I and take responsibility. But if he says I, we're going to then criticise him saying, well, he shouldn't be focused about himself. He's the captain. He should be saying we as a collective. Where let's say Cristiano Ronaldo comes out and says, We should have done better at the back there. Harry Maguire got turned. We'll say that is elite mentality by Cristiano Ronaldo after he's missed the 2 chances. And not that he should have scored the 2 chances, but that's my defense of Harry Maguire. It's a hypocrisy.
I agree with you, but Ronaldo doesn't make comments like that. That's my issue with Harry Maguire here, Tom.
Whoever, if that was the case.
But this interview is nothing short of embarrassing. We can't deny that. And
this interview, I would back your argument 100%. This hasn't been the case in previous interviews.
No, I'd agree with that. But this interview specifically, I just think that the situation the club finds itself in, we're not getting the results we want to. That is the last thing I want to hear my captain saying. Mate, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't like Ashley Young as a captain. I think Harry Maguire is miles worse. He's embarrassing himself every time he goes onto the pitch. Look, what I need to see happen now, he needs to be pulled out. Simply for his, even if he put in a man of the match performance today and only had that bad glimpse where he lets in the goal, his comments alone should be enough for Ralph Rangnick to say he needs to be sat on the bench and Lindelof needs to come back in. That is not the level you expect from your captain. That has not set a good example to Anthony Elanga and all the young players in that dressing room.
Off the back of this individual interview, I completely agree. In regards to it came out bad. It was bad in terms of the way. It's just think in previous interviews or previous times, I think it has been over the top. In a matter here saying, and obviously has a very strong dislike for Harry Maguire, but here I just haven't read it. Once you said our criticism was over the top. He wasn't shit because he was a good defender in his first 2 seasons. The criticism is over the top at times. He's the only player in this team. We use still images to dissect his performance. There's an image today, like he's at fault for the goal. He's 100% at fault for the goal. He shouldn't go into midfield. That's his issue. As soon as he goes into midfield, it's not the goal. Obviously, Jay Rodriguez has to score the goal. But then Luke Shaw needs to take responsibility and step up. Luke Shaw is completely out of position. Forget him playing offside. He needs to cover into the space on the left side of the centre-back where Harry Maguire leaves. The offside, that's unfortunate. Forget that. He needs to cover Harry Maguire's space. But we use a still image of Harry Maguire out of position, but we won't dissect Luke Shaw's out of position. So
Luke Shaw's got the worst positioning in this football team, by far. As bad as Maguire is, Luke Shaw's positioning is appalling.
So the criticism, look, as I said, these 3 things with Harry Maguire this season, he's been woeful. But the criticism is over the top. He has been bad, but as I said, people are supporting some of the abuse he gets and some of the stuff about his sister, which gets talked about in our group chat and stuff like that. I think is way over the top, and it's something I don't think any player should have to deal with. Because today,
I'd agree on that. 100%. Mate, Tom, I'm never going to debate that with you. I'm never going to wish ill health on anyone. No one's family member should get abused. At the end of the day, it's a game.
But he is the only player who comes across that type of stuff. And that's not me defending him. As I said, I want him to be dropped. Even at times I've said for Victor Lindelof to play ahead of him. I've said for Eric Bailly at times to play ahead of him. Even Phil Jones after the Wolves game, I said Phil Jones should play ahead of Maguire maybe.
I understand all of that. Look, at the end of the day, we all agree it's time. He needs to be pulled out. I think it's now Victor Lindelof's shirt to lose. It wasn't. Let's be fair to Lindelof too. He's been our best centre-back this season. Varane's a better player, but in terms of longevity, in terms of consistency, Lindelof's been our best centre-back this. It
was unfortunate circumstances how Lindelof sort of lost his spot.
Exactly. And I think it's a partnership for Lindelof and Varane. If one of those two pull up short, I think you just got to let them. If I'm Ralph Rangnick today, I'm pulling Lindelof in. I'm saying to him, if you're right to play, mate, you're my centre-half for the next 10 games. Barring injury or rotation, you two are the 2 I'm going with. Because I think Harry Maguire needs to learn a tough lesson in what it means to be a Manchester United player and a Manchester United captain.
Yeah, no, definitely. So if everyone, I see a lot of live chats, and about 30 people private message me after every game talking about Harry Maguire. My defense of Harry Maguire, I don't want him to play for Manchester United at the moment. I want him on the bench and even give someone else the armband. My defense of Harry Maguire is always the off-the-field stuff and the sort of the over-the-top abuse and criticism. But, by all means.
Sorry, Tom, before you continue on that, can I make one more point on Maguire before we move on? You say you don't want to see him in a United shirt at the moment. I think we all agree. Are we winning a league title with him as a starting centre-half? I personally don't see it. Do you?
Not with any of our centre-backs.
Well, I think with Varane, you can see
Varane, but he needs someone next to him.
My point is, if Harry Maguire is not your starting centre-back, he's definitely not a rotational centre-half either. So United either need to decide this summer whether they're going to take a loss. Because even if he hits peak form, you're not getting 80 million for him. United need to take a loss on this guy, sell him for 40 million if you can, and upgrade in the summer.
But
I
that
honestly
is
think that's what we need to do.
See, correct. However, that is the reason the club and the upstairs is the issue. Because we will then next year, when they're unable to sell Harry Maguire, because the situation that in terms of the contract and the transfer fee they've placed on Harry Maguire, they won't be able to get rid of him. He stays, and then we're left at blaming the player this time next year. We're talking about the player, where really the issue stems from upstairs and the inability to get rid of him. So that is where our abuse, or not abuse, our focus is always directed on the pitch. But you do have to look at why it continues to happen on the pitch, because we're unable to get rid of these players because of the decisions, whether it be wages or transfer fees or football direction. So it's a never-ending debate. But I just saw here a comment from a good mate of ours from Supporters Club. If I can bring it up, where did he say? I think it was Sam or Adrian. I think it is. I'll just quickly find it for you. There you go. Thank you, Larry, for bringing that up for me. Random fact, but former Manchester United player Scott Wooten has signed for the Wellington Phoenix. Might be worth getting him in for a guest on the podcast. I have spoken to Scott. He will definitely be coming on. We're trying to see if we can potentially do something when he is in Sydney and sort of do something face-to-face at the pub. If worse comes to worse, we will do something online with him. I've also spoken to Brian McClare as well about coming on. It's just a little bit tricky at the moment in terms of syncing up schedules, but he's still definitely scheduled to come on. But it might be a week or two. But I'll keep everyone up to date on that. But enough on Harry Maguire, and I'm sure he'll probably come into this discussion as well, but we'll move on to another English player. And it's sort of maybe a bit of a theme in this, Larry, in terms of our England internationals and in terms of where are problems in this team. I'm not a huge fan of Luke Shaw, but okay, is Luke Shaw an issue? Is Harry Maguire an issue? Of course he is. I don't want to say a bigger issue, but other end of the pitch, it depends what sort of carries more weight for you. Our left winger, is he left winger, right winger, wherever he's playing, Marcus Rashford, number 10. I don't know where to start. It's a weird one because I don't know where to start. I'm lost for words. And that's not to say he was worse than Maguire. I don't know who was worse.
Marcus Rashford has done some wonderful works over the last 2 years. I don't think anyone can deny that. I also think when he's on form, he's a good footballer. But I think there needs to be an honest conversation and an honest realization in this fan base. There is a bias towards protecting Marcus Rashford. There is, those who are racist abuse and all of that, they're idiots. I'm not talking about those people. But we need to accept as a fan base, there has been a protection of Marcus Rashford. There's been a stubborn bias towards Marcus Rashford. And at times, indefendable defense of Marcus Rashford. I think his level for Manchester United is a squad player. I know that might shock some people. I know you might say he's in a bad patch of form, but the reality is, if you're at the professional highest level of football, if you cannot move over to the right-hand side and put in a level of performance like you would on the left-hand side, you shouldn't be a professional footballer. He's better on the left, but Sancho showed us today why he should be first choice on the left. And now you're left with the conundrum of Marcus Rashford. He's quick, but that's really it. There were so many times he lost the ball today because he just got tunnel vision. He had no skill about him. He just thought, I'm just going to run as fast as I can and try and beat the man like it's under eights. You can't do that. If United are pushing up ahead, Marcus Rashford is a squad player. I'm sorry. I know he's on 200K a week. I know he does some awful good deeds, and that doesn't take away from him as a person. And tell me if I'm saying anything wrong here, Tom. United should be looking to get an elite winger because Marcus Rashford ain't that.
Well, I said when we're signing Jadon Sancho, everyone's talking about right wing. I was saying, hang on, in my opinion, look, I do like to see Jadon Sancho on the right-hand side, but in my opinion, he's a better left winger than Marcus Rashford. So playing, and this was obviously at the time we had Mason Greenwood potentially on the right-hand side. I was saying Jadon Sancho plays over Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford is the one to watch out. But we're talking about play power and Harry Maguire keeping his spot because he's an England international. He has a captain's armband and it's sort of very hard to drop him. This has proven evident with Marcus Rashford. Ralph Rangnick is finding it very hard to leave him out. So I'll be very interested on Saturday against Southampton if he keeps his spot. Surely he doesn't keep his spot, Maguire and Rashford, but especially Rashford, because you talk about he's better on the right. He's better on the left, and when he goes over onto the right-hand side, he sort of can't do the same thing, can't do the basic things. Does he do the basic things on the left?
He has a bit of tunnel vision, but you saw today in the second half when he moves over to the left, he almost had that opportunity where he beats two players. He's got ability. Like, this isn't to say Marcus Rashford's garbage. But that's the problem with him. Like, I think for Manchester United team, you need your starting 11 to be giving you not sixes. You need to be getting 8, 9, 10 out of 10s every game. That's the level. That's why we were so successful for so many years. The current group of players, Tom, outside of David De Gea this season and Rafael Varane recently, which player gives us 7, 8, 9 out of 10 performances every single game? But Marcus Rashford in particular, he's been poor for the best part of 12 months now. He had a really positive start to last season. Then we got told he's been carrying an injury. Granted, I'll believe that. He's come back. He's had a 4-month break. He's as woeful as ever.
It's the thing, you look at what we've discussed today in terms of the way we played. We actually played some quite good football, and you take away the Harry Maguire brain snap at the back. Did Burnley really, I know they had the shot from distance, but did Burnley really create anything? You look back at the Middlesbrough game, and I know Middlesbrough are sort of championship team, but did they create anything? In terms of, we're actually sort of playing better and we're looking a little bit more structured. But it's the individuals. So this is where we're talking about managers. Okay, what manager is going to come in? What are they going to do? Ultimately, these players, which we've talked about in games in isolation, they're the ones who have to take responsibility. As a team, I think we're improving. It's the individuals who are constantly letting us down. If you look at a goal, it's not a team's played through us fantastic football. We go, that was a mistake by that player. Or if we miss a goal, he's the one who missed that. It's not like we're not creating chances. We're creating the chances. It's coming down, in my opinion, to these individual mistakes. Now, a team game, unfortunately, depends on where you look at it. We always talk about, it's a team game. A team is made up of individuals. You need your individuals to do the right thing. And unfortunately, our individuals are costing us.
You're right. Like, you look at Diogo Dalot today. He got himself in a good positions, mate. His crossing is woeful.
Yeah. We talk about that being his strength.
Yeah, that's the thing. We've been sold. No one who is sensible will tell you Diogo Dalot is a brilliant crosser of the ball. If you watch him, his technical, his ability, his actual technique is good. The cross looks good in the air. You got to find people's heads, though. Yeah. He crosses to nobody. His crossing's no better than Ashley Young's, who got absolutely ridiculed.
It's what I've said about Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I'm not saying play Aaron Wan-Bissaka over Diogo Dalot. I'm enjoying seeing Dalot play and what he offers the team. But it's what I've said about Wan-Bissaka and almost what I say with when Harry Maguire makes a mistake or Varane makes a mistake. If they make the same mistake, Maguire looks 10 times worse doing it. When Aaron Wan-Bissaka makes a mistake, he looks like a drunk footballer doing it, where Diogo Dalot looks like a footballer. But if you actually watch Wan-Bissaka going forward, like that stat you brought up last week, he actually dribbles past players more often. If you actually look at the success rate of whether it be a cross or a pass, he's probably far, I wouldn't say he's more effective than Diogo Dalot, but in terms of if you want to sort of weigh up success rates and pass percentages, he's probably, in my opinion, stronger than Diogo Dalot. He looks 10 times worse doing it. And that sort of affects our sort of opinions as fans.
No, I'd actually agree with that. I think Wan-Bissaka's delivery of a cross is better. The problem with Wan-Bissaka is you can't have any sort of build-up play with him. He takes what Diogo Dalot is doing in 1 second. Wan-Bissaka is taking 5 seconds to control the ball. Just slows everything right down. And that's the problem with him, unfortunately.
Well, I just want one more sort of topic on Marcus Rashford, and in the live chat, get your thoughts in. We'll sort of discuss. We'll throw your opinions up on the screen as we go. But before we move on to 3, 2, 1, just the last bit on Marcus Rashford. Now, this is not going to happen, but we're talking about the business side of football things, and we're going into with the transfer window just closed, but we're going into one in a couple of months' time, which is going to be this huge, massive overhaul at Manchester United, and we're looking to the future under a new manager, Marcus Rashford. You're Ralph Rangnick. You're going upstairs, and you're sort of playing Football Manager. Is he on a transfer list for you if a bid comes in?
Depends who you can replace him with. I think that's what it comes down to. Unfortunately, I look around world football at the moment. You know who I'd absolutely love? I know he played for Manchester City, Leroy Sané. Oh, if you could get him on the left wing, I'd take him in a heartbeat. But you're not getting him out of Munich. I don't know. I don't look around world football, and the reality is with Rashford, poor this season, his production has actually been quite good. So how do you replace him? If you're asking me, are United in for Mbappe? Yeah, I'll take a transfer for Marcus Rashford. But the reality is, Tom, I don't know if you can upgrade on him. Maybe Martial comes out. Look, and I've been criticised of this. I'll take Martial on that left wing over Marcus Rashford all day long.
Oh, no, I think it's one of those. I think 90% of football fans would take Martial over Rashford in regards to sort of the way a team would move forward in terms of trying to play progressive football and attacking football, especially, let's say, a new manager is a Ten Hag or Pochettino. Obviously, they're going to favour a player like Anthony Martial. But obviously, you then have to look at the individual of Anthony Martial, and is he motivated? Does he want to be here? Because while he's a better footballer, Marcus Rashford could be more productive if Marcus Rashford wants to be here and wants to fight for the badge. Now he needs to show that. So at times he doesn't show that. And that will sort of put him above Anthony Martial in regards to what a team needs. But that's right. Look at, I think we start to look though, okay, who's better than Marcus Rashford out there? So, okay, don't go sell. And I'm not saying sell him, far from it. However, we're saying, okay, Leroy Sané, Mbappe, is there anyone who would come? Jadon Sancho. I'll be playing Jadon Sancho ahead of him. Forget about left wing, right wing. If he's a left winger, play Jadon Sancho on the left, in my opinion. I understand people want him on the right-hand side. I think his best football comes from the left. I do like to see him on the right, but I think the answer is there in Jadon Sancho. We spent £70 million on him. In my opinion, that's the answer because he's younger than Marcus Rashford. Just your thoughts?
I agree with you, but I think for this season, I think Rashford needs to be moved to the left and Sancho on the right. While I think Sancho is the better left winger, Rashford offers absolutely nothing on the right. And unfortunately, with Mason Greenwood no longer available, we simply have no options there. Elanga's very much a left-sided forward. Sancho prefers the left. Rashford prefers the left. If Ronaldo was going to be in a wide position, he'd be on the left. So you're really not left with many options on the right-hand side unless you're going to play Juan Mata, who is probably slower than Harry Maguire. So United, unfortunately, find themselves in this difficult situation.
In terms of the issues we face in wide areas, and then this is the last point before we move on to the 3-2-1s, like in that Marcus Rashford issue, sort of the situations he finds himself in the box, we're not our wide players, whether you call them wingers or wide players or inside forwards, however you want to describe them, they're not creating it. Well, we're creating chances as a team for our centre forward and our striker, but they're not creative players. Jadon Sancho obviously is, but at the moment, whether it be a Greenwood or a Marcus Rashford, they get into that area of the pitch and they're shooting. I think we need to start creating more chances for the actual people who can finish. Now, obviously, Greenwood is a good finisher. Rashford has shown he can score a couple of goals. But that is where, and okay, maybe it's because we're almost feeling at rock bottom. I would be playing Juan Mata on the right over Marcus Rashford because I feel he'd try and create. He'll get into an area on the pitch and say, okay, how can I create for Bruno or Ronaldo here? Where Marcus Rashford gets into that area of the pitch and he says, how can I be the hero here? How can I put this in the top corner? And I think we need to start creating more. You look at why Jadon Sancho's performance is starting to stand out. It's because he's trying to link up the play with good footballers. Suddenly, we're getting all this link-up play. We're playing through midfield. We're getting it out wide to Marcus Rashford, and it's either a goal or Marcus Rashford loses it. There's no other end story. If the ball goes to Jadon Sancho, okay, a Man United player might touch the ball next, but with Marcus Rashford, it's game over. It might be brilliant. He might dribble past players, like you said, on the left-hand side. He can go past players, but 9 times out of 10, it'll end up in the opposition's hands.
Oh, Tom. Anyway.
3-2-1's positives. As I said, it wasn't a loss. It was a draw, 1-1 draw. 3-2-1's trying to scrape the bottom of the barrel. He doesn't go into the 3-2-1s for me. However, match-winning save, David De Gea. And people could ask if he's at fault for the goal. It was a hell of a save from that volley. I'm not putting him in the 3-2-1s, but it was a big save. If we lose 2-1, it's a different story.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree. I'm not. He's not in my 3-2-1s. I thought David De Gea is such a brilliant shot stopper, the best shot stopper in the world. I just think as a goalkeeper, though, he's not back in that argument for me. And the reason for that is his all-round distribution. You look at what's asked of a goalkeeper now. He just, unfortunately for De Gea, he lacks a bit of that in his locker, doesn't he? His distribution's not phenomenal. He doesn't command his box. So I like De Gea. I wouldn't replace him. But in saying that, if someone said you could replace him with Oblak, you're taking Oblak, aren't you? That's just... Yeah.
Well, before we move on, I've just seen Vin and Josh, Mason Greenwood is on the thumbnail. So we will take the thumbnail off 3-2-1s and we will change that. Mason Greenwood shouldn't be on there and getting any points. So our apologies about that, but look for a new and improved graphic after the Southampton match. But enough about De Gea. He's got enough points and he's already wrapped up this competition. He has won the 3-2-1s this season. So we're moving on to next, Pogba or Sancho for me. I thought Pogba was good without being great, and Sancho probably needed that assist, probably needed something more to sort of make that sort of great performance. But ultimately, maybe a little bit let down by the people around him.
Yeah. I thought, look, Sancho for me would probably get the 3 points. I thought he was easily the best player on the pitch. I thought Pogba was really good too. I've got to be honest, and I've got to say our improvement and progression with the ball with Paul Pogba. Tom, like you said, Paul makes hypocrites of all of us. I'm sick of the circus that is Paul Pogba, but you can't deny we're a much better side with him on the team, or with him in the team. And his goal shows that. It was a well-taken goal, I might add. But yeah, I think Sancho, his best performance in a United shirt, easily. I thought he was lively. Every time he got the ball, he looked dangerous. He was really good today.
Yeah, it would be Sancho for me for 3 points. So we'll lock in Sancho for 3, and I think there a lot of people have Sancho and Pogba, a mix of them. Jamie here, Pogba 3, Sancho 2, and Bruno 1. Just on Pogba and Bruno in this 4-3-3, which was sort of starting to sort of lean towards, and sort of quite happy with Pogba and Bruno. I know the opposition was the championship side in Middlesbrough, who we didn't beat, and bottom of the table, who we didn't beat. So it's not against Manchester City or Liverpool or, God forbid, Atletico Madrid. Good, bad. Can we read anything into their performances yet, or it's just two normal games? Can't sort of look too sort of far into the future, especially with Pogba sort of potentially going in a couple of weeks.
Well, with the Atletico tie, I think United have every hope of going through. I really do.
No, but we've been talking about. I'm just talking about Pogba and Bruno together as two weights. Like, is it working for you in terms of what we've seen?
Right. Yeah, I think they're looking all right. We haven't looked too open. I think we've been controlling the game. I think if you're a possession-based side, if you're looking to control the game with the ball, you can play with Pogba and Bruno. The issue for me is the balance, and this has been the issue all season, unfortunately. I think I don't know whether it's a Ronaldo thing. I don't know whether it's a systemic thing, but Bruno's clearly not playing as freely as he has the last 2 seasons or since he came to Manchester United. And I think you're taking away from his game. And I think that's been a major difference in terms of our attack this season. I think Pogba and Bruno definitely do work. Of course they work. They're both good players. But Bruno's the one I think we've just nullified his game a little. In saying that, I don't know what the solution is. I don't know how do you get the best out of Bruno, the best out of Pogba, the best out of Ronaldo without being left open. It's just this conundrum in terms of the balance of the side. We're conceding goals that we shouldn't. Sorry, that's a long-winded way to answer your question. Is it working? Yes, it's working. But is it the best thing for this team? Probably for the rest of this season, but I feel like we've limited Bruno Fernandes.
Well, here, Mad saying, well, Bruno has been a lot more accurate with his pass, and he's slowed a lot of our counter-attacks down today by passing behind our players rather than in front of him, which look, that's an execution thing. That's not a Bruno Fernandes in regards to ability or anything. His execution, I think, was a little bit off today in regards to things. But I do like him in that sort of deeper role. And I think the main reason I don't like him in this not deeper role, but a little bit further sort of back is what you sort of alluded to. We're a little bit less open. Okay, going forward, you can say, okay, do we want him close to the goal in terms of scoring goals or assisting? That's an argument. But in defence, in the defensive side of the game, it is working a lot better. We're not sort of conceding chance after chance after chance. And that is down to Bruno. I think a lot of it is down to Bruno Fernandes not closing the goalkeeper down so often.
Can we say Bruno's effort to run back on the counter-attack where he gets back to be there for that ball?
I think that came from a Scott McTominay corner or Bruno Fernandes. One of them had a shot from a short. What was with these short corners, Larry? Well, just throw them in the box. Just let it hit. Eventually, it might be in 2033. It might happen. Eventually, it's going to hit someone and go in. Just get it in the box.
Well,
Don't try a short corner.
Should have had one today, shouldn't he? It was a set piece. It wasn't a corner, but yeah. Look, I take what you're saying, but we clearly struggle to score from him. Like Luke Shaw's delivery from corners, get him off him. His delivery is shocking.
Well, that's a set piece coach thing in terms of Luke Shaw. Not okay, if delivery or poor delivery, that's up for interpretation. It's your left back. I've got no issue with the left back taking it. But then we're not covering a left back. We're still throwing everyone forward, and we get caught out so many times on the counter-attack, especially at left back, because our left back shot 60 metres across the field to take a corner on the right-hand side. And then he's got Luke Shaw as the last person you want tracking back 100 metres to get back diagonally across the pitch. And that's my main issue with Luke Shaw, whether you think he's good at crossing the ball or not. It's simply 12-year-old stuff, 12-year-old schoolboy stuff that they're not covering the left back. We're all staying in the same shape. Delo on the right back, one centre back, and leaving a gaping hole where Luke Shaw is, or Luke Shaw was supposed to be. But in terms of those 3-2-1s, we'll quickly go back in. I think we both agreed Sancho and then Paul Pogba for 2. I think the other 2 names in the chat, and I think they're both sort of pretty similar to us. I'll give you the floor for 1 point in regards to, assume either Rafael Varane or a lot of people have put David De Gea. Even a few people have put him in as their 3 points. So yeah, you go on Rafael Varane, who I would allude to as well.
Yeah, I think seriously, Rolls Royce of a defender is
especially having to play next to Maguire as well. It sets its own little challenges.
Oh, Tom, criticizing Maguire. I've got time for this. But no, honestly, Varane was faultless today. He should have had a goal. He's such a confidence booster in that defense. I feel bad for him. Put a good partner next to him. I really think you're going to see something else out of this guy. And you know what? I don't even think we've seen the best of Varane. I think next season will be the one where he really dominates. But seriously, what a player he is. We're truthfully blessed to have him as a defender.
Yeah, no, I think he's been very good since he's come in. I wouldn't say he's been criticised, but sort of been a few questions. But I think that's just stemmed from sort of some of the fitness issues he's had. But it's very rare that a sort of player comes in from Spain or any foreign player. But even if you are a top quality player, look at Juan Varane. Any top quality player coming in from the continent, doesn't matter how good you are, that there are challenges. And it's sort of, especially in the times we are playing in regards to COVID, it's a different preparation for games. And I think he's been very good since his arrival. So long may it continue. And we're going to talk about sort of in future podcasts in terms of all the players coming to the end of the contract and what's our team going to look like in a year's time. There's potentially like 10, 11 players leaving, and you think that's not a possibility. However, if you go through each individual case, there is a strong possibility they all do leave. So I think the one silver lining is Rafael Varane will be a Manchester United player next season. That is something we can sort of cling our hat to. But for those 3 points, we will go 3 points to Sancho, Pogba for 2, and Rafael Varane. And our apologies, we will sort out that 3-2-1 graphic for next week. Any suggestions to put in there, feel free to let us know. But before we wrap up the podcast, top 4. A very reactionary thing, and I do the same, and everyone does the same, and we'll sort of sleep on it, and we'll feel better about it tomorrow. But we'll do the same thing against Southampton when we lose. We'll say top 4 is gone, season's over. We did the exact same thing today. Top 4 is over, it's gone. Ultimately, it's not points wise. We've seen that there's still a long way to go, and there's still a very good. It doesn't feel like it, but there's still a very good chance. Assuming we get results, which doesn't look like it at the moment, there is a good chance we still finish in the top 4 if we get our act together. Current top 4 thoughts as you go through that, as you give me your sort of first opinions, I'll have a look at the ladder and let you know the situation.
I still think we'll finish 4th. I know it's a poor result today, but we still gained a point. Look, obviously, it'll come down to March, Tom. I think if we can get a positive, or at least. So who we got? We got Spurs, Arsenal. No, not Arsenal. Sorry, we got Spurs, Manchester City, Liverpool. They're somewhere in there, and we got the 2 Atletico ties sandwiched in. If we can get through that with at least 1 win and a draw, if we can go through that without a loss and get at least 1 win, I think we'll be okay. I think we have to beat Spurs, though. I think if we don't beat Spurs, we're in trouble.
Spurs will be a big one because they've got 3 games in there, 3 points behind us, but 3 games in hand, so they potentially go 6 points ahead of us. So, yeah, the Spurs one is almost that cup final. I just say, look, it's not going to happen. Obviously, we're not going to win the Champions League, but all the eggs do go in the Champions League for me because if we get top 4, okay, that's great. And it's so important. You can't sort of overestimate the importance of getting top 4, but it's one of those ones in 10 years' time, you won't remember the season. But if we somehow do fluke it, you will remember this season if we do lift old big ears. But just in regards to that, West Ham are there. Obviously, West Ham jumped above us because they got a win against Watford. There is Arsenal sort of still kicking around. And look, ultimately, it's still, what have we got? We'll play 23 games, so there's still sort of 10 to 15 games to go. So there's still a long way to go. There's going to be many ups and downs. I'm sure we'll go into the top 4 in a couple of weeks, then we'll drop back out of the top 4 sort of later on in the season. So it will be a roller coaster, but as you said, you're quietly confident of making the top 4. I would say the same. If we lose against Southampton, I think that confidence would sort of drop a little bit. But what are you thinking? Obviously, we'll preview the Southampton game later on in the week, but your thoughts ahead of that one? Because we go into all these games now, Larry. Must win. Cup final. We need to win this one. We said this against Burnley, and ultimately we don't win, but we're here as fans. We're still talking about and thinking, well, maybe the next one we could put right.
Yeah. It's going to be a tough game, mate. And if there's anyone who understands Rangnick, it's going to be his opposing manager. So it gets tricky. In saying that, maybe Southampton play the style of football that give us an opportunity. I'm not sure. We struggled against them. We're back at Old Trafford where we never seem to get a victory. So I can't tell you I'm confident, to be honest.
Here's one from Ryan, which I want Emad and George to discuss. Feel freely in the comments. Ryan swapped Maguire for Tarkowski. He was immense all game. Very surprised he
All
hasn't been
day
snapped
long.
up by a top club. So, Emad and George, feel free to discuss Ryan's comments there. I'm sure that'll spark a lot of debate. But just from George, just before we wrap up the podcast, I don't know if this makes us feel better or worse, Larry, but George says, to make us feel better, how about we laugh at Fat Frank at Lampard? The only thing I want to discuss, Donny van de Beek on the bench. He came off the bench, though, I think, but Everton got smashed away at Newcastle, which is Everton need to start looking over their shoulder at the relegation battle.
If they get relegated with Frank Lampard in charge, that might actually make me happy.
Who would you rather get relegated, Newcastle or Everton?
Ooh. Why not both?
Well, I look at it. They're only a point above Newcastle. They do have a game in hand. I'm not sure who the game in hand is, but the relegation battle as a neutral is fascinating. As I said, one day I would love Man United to be in a relegation battle. Maybe stay up on the last day, although I would like a season in the Championship. But I do love watching the relegation battle. It's obviously fascinating viewing, especially with sort of the narrative around Newcastle. But anything else in regards to this Burnley match we want to discuss before we move on to obviously wrap up, but obviously look ahead to the Southampton game during the week?
No, I'm good. Let's put the game behind us.
It's been depressing enough.
Honestly, yeah, I'm done with this game. I just want to look forward until Southampton. Let me build my hope up again, Tom, before my heart gets broken again all on the weekend.
Before James Ward-Prowse puts a free kick in the top corner in the 88th minute.
Oh,
you can see it happening. You can see it happening. Trust me. Everyone's thinking it. You know it's going to happen.
Yeah, you're probably right. But, maybe that's what we need to do. We keep coming on here every week in our preview saying, we're quietly confident, I'm going the other way. I'm going to say I'm not confident, and I'm going to hope for a 3-0 victory.
Well, like last year, we beat them 9-0 at Old Trafford. Maybe that's going to be the sort of turn. That was a while ago when we beat them 9-0 at Old Trafford under Solskjaer.
Not a chance.
Yeah, no, definitely. That was a funny game. The guy got sent off after like 45 seconds or something. That would be beneficial for United. So hopefully Southampton can they are the one team that can go and lose 9-0. They're that weird team that's happened on sort of 2 occasions. And I think there was another big heavy defeat somewhere in there. But obviously the Man United Supporters Club here in Sydney will be watching that match out at Scruffy Murphy's on Saturday night. So if you are in Sydney, get in touch. Feel free to come down and sort of watch the match with us, have a couple of beers. And result pending, Larry, we might do a live pubcast at the end of the match at the pub. As I said, if that free kick flies into the top corner in the 90th minute, we might refuse to record, but fingers crossed we can sort of return to an original pubcast. It'd be great. Feel free to come along. As I said, if you want the details, just send us a message and we'll get in touch and let you know the details, because obviously you do need to register your spot, just COVID and everything. Don't ask about it. But we'll sort of sort that out for you. But Larry, until then, it's been a pleasure as always. Chat to you on what day is it? It is a Wednesday, so maybe tomorrow night or Friday night pint. We'll obviously let our listeners know.
Yeah, we'll let you know, and cheers for tuning in. Make sure you do give us a big like on that video, because we've had to come on here all depressed, but we're giving it our best shot. But look, Tom, cheers, mate. Always happy to chat to you. You know that. And we'll chat tomorrow.
No, definitely. And I appreciate everyone in the comments. I know the comments have been flying in today, so apologies for not getting to them all. But I just want to keep the conversation flowing as much as we can. But we do truly appreciate it. So we'll chat to you in a day or two. Cheers.